Welcome back, Shalloners, and welcome back, Rihanna Navy. Today is day 2 of talking about our beloved Queen and Savior, Rihanna. She just recently covered British Vogue, and yesterday we talked about, her interview and how to fake confidence when you don't actually feel confident at all and you're actually super anxious. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. But today, we're going to talk about something else that she said, and it was just kind of a little tidbit in her interview, but it really stood out to me and made me think a lot about something we talk about a lot here on this channel: boundaries. Boundaries truly are the key to life. There's the old saying, tall fences make for good neighbors. And that means, you got to know where your property line is, right? We all know where our home begins and ends, where our yard is, where our front door is, where our fence is. And that makes us sleep well at night because we know no one's just going to be wandering on into our property thinking it's theirs. That's why we have fences. And the same goes for our real life. We need to have very clear fences and clear boundaries. Otherwise, we feel constantly taken advantage of, constantly eroded, bitter and resentful, not just at everyone else in our life, but at ourselves. And we've done a lot of videos on boundaries. You can check those out. But first, before we get into this topic, because Rihanna has some very interesting things to say she's genius, so of course. Just want to remind you guys to click like and subscribe. We're doing a new video every day during quarantine. I'm going to keep you guys fed and whole and entertained. Dude, it's like me, Pornhub, and Netflix just killing it right now. It's all on our shoulders. It's a weird triumvirate. And follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO, where you can keep up with the latest video topics, vote on them, and get some inspiration, daily wisdom. Also, listen to my podcast, Girl on Top, out every week. And if you want to book a video shout out for somebody, a friend, maybe there's a birthday coming up that you can't celebrate IRL, find me on Cameo at ShallonXO as well. So she was talking about that she's kind of entering a new phase in her life. And she talks about her recent birthday. Her birthday is February 20th. So sad, I know that. But she said, "Since I turned 32, I'm realizing life is really short. You don't have a lot of time to tolerate shit, So you put so much on your plate. When you're overwhelmed, you need to start cutting things out. And I'm overwhelmed too much. What's happening right now is that I'm going back to black and white. My gray area is shutting down." And this is just one sentence and kind of embedded in the rest of the article. And a lot of people, the pull quotes are like, oh, she has anxiety, she wants kids. This is what jumped out to me though. My gray area is shutting down. We'll unpack that. So there's not a lot of great things about being an adult. I mean, there is, but when you're young and you're looking at graduating college, or even when you're in high school and thinking about being older, it's like, oh my God, being an adult sounds awful. Either we think it alternately sounds incredible, like no homework and we make money and we can have whatever we want for dinner. Or it's like, wait, we have to make our own doctor's appointments? Holy fucking shit. And when I was younger, I always assumed adulthood would be uncool. Like you just grow up and you automatically become lame. You don't do anything fun. Who's that celebrity? Ooh, turn this rap music down. And I was like, I never want to grow up. I was like Peter Pan, I've talked a lot about my issues with age. But I remember my friend Shelby in college said, she's like, well, there's a lot of lame young people and lame young people become lame grown-ups and cool young people become cool grown-ups. It's not age, it's if you're lame. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. So I was always really scared of being an adult. But one thing I realized that's incredible about adulthood, one thing that is not, is having acne and wrinkles at the same time. What kind of asshole came up with that? Anyway, one great thing is that you can just decide what you like and decide what you don't. When I was younger, it truly didn't occur to me that I could have things I really, really liked and absolutely refused. And I remember I learned this lesson when it was like senior year in high school, and everyone was going to go see Dave Matthews, who's playing at Irvine Meadows, and everyone's like, Dave Matthews. I don't like Dave Matthews. I mean, he's fine, but it's just not like my thing. One of my friends has seen him 225 times. It might even be more. Can you believe that? I know and she's like, every time is like the first time. She's so gassed. It's adorable. But I'm just, it's like, all right, I didn't really want to go. I didn't want to buy the tickets. I was like, I don't want to sit on like a blanket and like listen to this song. Is it many songs or is it just one long song? I don't know. But it was very much peer pressure to go. Everyone was going. And in this rare moment of individuality, I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go. And you know who else stood up and said, I don't want to go either? my crush. And you know what we did that night instead? We went on a date. And I was like, oh my God, this is the universe rewarding me for actually standing up for myself. And that changed everything. That really kind of set me on the path of individuality. And as you become an adult, that path becomes clearer and more defined and way more acceptable to walk. So when Rihanna was like, black and white, we're taught that that's a bad thing. Oh, don't look at the world in terms of black and white. There's so many shades of gray, 50 perhaps. And then you're like, yeah, okay, everyone's sort of right. Everyone's sort of wrong. Look, tolerance is obviously a foundation of who you need to be as a strong individual and tolerant of different opinions and lifestyles. But in terms of things you will and won't accept in your life, do not be fucking tolerant at all. Tolerant is the worst trait you can have in terms of setting boundaries. Well, okay, I'll just go with the flow. Why? No. So being an adult allows you to just be like, no, I hate that shit. I don't like camping. I don't like Dave Matthews Band. I don't like working in the yard. Why is this all like physical labor based stuff? But like, that's me. And as I've gotten older, I've allowed myself to step into my true self and not be apologetic about it. What was her album called? Unapologetic. You know, and so this is why we love Rihanna, is because we have watched her evolution from like pop star to like, I am taking names and not taking any shit. And part of that is because she has defined herself and she has defined her boundaries. So when she says black and white, my gray area is shutting down, I interpret this as I am no longer allowing things in my life that I don't know how I feel about them. Oh, like that person, okay, I know they're fine. They're fine. But when we allow a lot of gray area in our life, it's because we're not listening to our intuition. Oh, I'm going to let that person in my life. No, I just don't like them. That's your intuition telling you something. That's your intuition telling you something. Like, maybe I don't trust this person. Maybe I don't know where this relationship is going to go, but I kind of don't want to find out. I don't want to get in that guy's car. I don't want to meet him for drinks. I don't want to walk into that meeting. Now look, that last example, you're probably like, oh, well, wait, should you walk into the meeting? Aha, see, this was a trick question. Because it's hard to know where anxiety ends and your intuition begins, right? Because a lot of things that we're going to encounter in life, a lot of things worth doing, a lot of necessary things to do are scary. If things weren't scary, they wouldn't be valuable, right? It wouldn't be an achievement if it was just not scary and not a big deal. Who fucking cares? Okay. But it's difficult to know where true, like, healthy, normal fear about something ends and like anxiety and intuition. It's like, oh, no, we shouldn't be doing that. And this is why we talk about on this channel, knowing thyself. And it's weird because it's kind of like a chicken and the egg thing. You have to know yourself in order to know yourself. You're like, all right, thanks, Shallon. But when we are very sure of who we are, very sure of what we like and what we don't, but also have the elasticity to grow, because when you have that elasticity, that says you have a healthy ego. Ironically, a fragile ego, a fraught ego is it comes across as bombastic, but you're actually extremely fragile. If you don't have any room for other opinions, if you don't have any room for feedback, your ego actually is not strong at all. Because if you are at a place from an ego standpoint where you should be, and someone's like, hey, here's some feedback, you are receptive to listening to it, you're processing it, and you can accept or reject it without lashing out, without it wounding your sense of self-esteem, and process it in a normal way. It's like, okay, thanks for the suggestion. It's more of a suggestion box. It doesn't feel like an attack, right? And so this is how we approach gray matter now. Only we come at gray matter, whether it's a person, a situation, a type of dressing even. Like, I know what I like fashion-wise and what I don't. Like, I'm a little elastic on it, but I know what's going to look good on my body, what's not going to, what I'm going to feel comfortable in, what I'm buying just because it's like trendy and I feel like it's cool and I should belong. And it's like, okay, maybe I would rather look a little outdated, but in something that's flattering and comfortable for me and not like the ultimate trendiest Urban Outfitter look, because what I wear is authentic to me, than betray myself and wade into that gray matter. I'm much more black and white in that area because I have divorced myself from needing everyone to like what I do. And this also goes back to Rihanna, that warm-blooded animal. The warm-blooded animal we talk about, where she is self-sustaining. She doesn't need the opinions of a billion other people. She doesn't need the likes. She doesn't need the constant validation, which is why she talked about why she likes life out of the spotlight, because she's warm-blooded, right? She doesn't need to be all up in everyone's pieces. She's forming her own patterns, her own opinions, her own black and white. So that when gray matter comes along, she knows herself. She's used to spending time alone in her own emotional real estate, boundaries, right? It all comes back to property. And so she can look at gray matter and she can accept it or reject it, or approach it with a modicum of elasticity, because her ego is where it should be. Her ego is healthy and in place, so she can evaluate things with that elasticity and pass or reject, right? Or accept or reject. So let's talk about some things in your life that might fall under the category of gray matter. And like I said, there are things that you're going to be encountering that are scary. And that doesn't mean you're like, okay, well, I don't want to do it. It gives me anxiety to walk into that meeting at work, so I shouldn't be doing it. Yeah, bitch, you should. Unless you want to work in the mailroom the whole time, yes, you should. But like I said, it's that intuition. Is this a healthy, normal fear? Is this me catastrophizing? Oh my God, everyone's going to laugh at me. Well, no, they won't, because I did that presentation last week and no one laughed at me. And I stood up and gave a toast at that wedding and no one laughed at me. And I did my tap dance recital and no one laughed at me. So why do I think, okay, so I'm going to reject that psychological gray matter, and I'm going to move into that meeting. Some other things that fall under the category of gray matter is dating, right? That's what we talk about. Fuck boys are nothing but gray matter. They just move all around. Oh, they shapeshift like a virus. They adapt. And if you don't know your emotional boundaries, if you don't know that the reason you feel exhausted and, like Rihanna said, overwhelmed, anxious, resentful, you lash out at people, if you haven't linked a lack of boundaries with those feelings, a fuckboy is going to come along and feel like true love. You know why? His chaos is going to feel familiar to you. The resentment you have towards him is just going to be a drop in the bucket of a lot of other resentment. Of course, you're going to go over to his house on a Tuesday at 11 p.m., even though you have to study. You have no boundaries. You're only gray matter. When you yourself are gray matter, you attract gray matter. Because people like a fuckboy look at you and you know what they smell? Weakness. They look at you and they don't want a girl who wants a boyfriend. They want a girl who needs a boyfriend, who needs someone to rescue her, who needs someone to erect boundaries for her because she doesn't have any, right? So he's going to tap into that chaos and he's going to press on those buttons and ba-boom, you belong to him. You belong to him, baby girl. You belong to that chaos now. You have just meshed chaos with chaos. And all you are is more resentful. So this time in quarantine, I want this to be time to look at your boundaries, because we have a great dialing down of stimulation, right? We're not getting as many human interactions, all of this stuff. And so we have a chance to pull back and get perspective. What's working in my life? Who actually really annoys me? Who's not really there for me? What situations do I miss most about like pre-quarantine life? Is it, actually, it's not like shopping and drinking and raging. It's having real conversations with my friends. Okay, so that tells me that I need to make more friends in my area so that I can have IRL interactions, but also keeping up with distant friends who might live in other cities or whatever now, you know? That tells me that I need to get out of the house more. That tells me that I actually thrive really well on human interaction. I'm not anxious like I've been telling myself. I miss that, and I do really. So I'm going to start to reframe things. We can't change this quarantine, but you know what we say in this channel? You can't change what happened. You can't change what is currently happening sometimes, but you can change what it means. And what this can mean, what this quarantine could mean, is a shoring up of our boundaries. My mom is literally shoring up the boundaries to our house. She's got a bid for a new fence, a dude coming out on Friday. And I'm like, it's so interesting that when we're all in our dwelling, we start to really look at our property line. Well, where's my grass end? And can we move this hedge over? We're all getting into this place of like fortressizing. I don't know if that's a word. It's like becoming our own fortress. This needs to be a process emotionally as well. This needs to be a process socially, where we pull back and we say, where is my line? What are you not allowed to breach? What works for me? What doesn't? What is black and white to me? What behaviors are A-okay, absolutely unacceptable, and therefore gray matter will shift much faster into one category or another. It is very important that we have rules for ourselves. I met with one of my friend's moms. I was like going through something a few weeks ago, and I met with her. She's a psychologist. Terry, I love you. She's the smartest woman in the world. I love her. And sorry, one second. And I was like crying about a situation, and she's like, and she read my ass. She dragged me to hell and back. She's like, you don't have enough rules for your life. You don't have enough rules for self-governance. And so you allow people into your life who also have no rules for their self-governance. And then you wonder why it's chaos. Chaos attracts chaos. Like attracts like. And I was like, oh, Terry. It was gnarly. And she was 100% right. She was 100% right. I can justify almost any behavior to myself, from murder to eating a second sleeve of Oreos that I don't need or want. And so when I behave like that, number one, I normalize that behavior in others. And I feel like I don't have any leg to stand on in terms of disallowing that behavior. How could I be mad at a boyfriend for cheating on me when I've cheated on people? Who am I to say that's not acceptable behavior? And because that's what I was saying to her. I was like, who am I to say that it's not acceptable for someone to cheat on me because I've cheated? And she's like, then stop fucking cheating on people. Make a promise to yourself that you are literally never going to act like that again. And I realized I had made that promise to myself. Before I got in my relationship with Max, I made that promise to myself. Obviously, I made the promise to him as well, but it's more important to make a promise to yourself, right? I mean, we can just lie to other people. We need to keep ourselves accountable. We need to feel wounded if we break a promise to ourselves, just as much, if not more so, if we break a promise to another person, because we got to live inside ourselves and those consequences 24 hours a day. We might only have to deal with their looks 2 hours a day, you know? We have to be comfortable inside our what? Property. Inside our emotional real estate. And it wasn't until she said that I realized I had made that promise, but I hadn't done it with enough conviction, I hadn't done it like specifically enough. You know, like I hadn't realized that I had made that promise to myself as diligently as I had. I was still living the label of Shallon's cheated on people, so therefore, how could I like come down on someone super hard for doing that to me? And it's like, because my behavior has changed. And I hadn't really looked at that in the eye. I was still letting a lot of like shame and guilt and all this stuff influence how I felt about that. Because I also felt guilty for making that promise. It's like, oh, now you want to be a good person. Okay. It's never too late to change who you are. It's never too late to correct bad behavior and get on a path that is healthy and that works for you. And consequently, for everyone else a lot better too. So during this quarantine, I've been really trying to focus on the concept of rules for self-governance. What do I, first and foremost, not allow within myself? Because it's real easy to make rules for other people. I don't want this and this and this. Okay, bitch, what you giving back? What are you giving back exactly? Are you willing to dish it out and take it as well? Maybe not. A lot of people don't want to. I want a man who's home and faithful and this and that. But I want to be able to do whatever I want. Okay, so you're a fuckboy. So you are actually the fuckboy in reality. You are the gray matter and you expect black and white moral behavior from the rest of the world. Respecting your boundaries, empathy, giving back. Are you actually, at the end of the day, walking it like you talking it? Maybe not. So I want this time for all of us to figure out our boundaries for ourselves. Make a list. Maybe like start with just 3 things. 3 things that you're like, these are commandments. These are deal breakers in my life. I will not do A, B, C. I will not cheat. I will not steal. I will not lie. And those sound easy. It's like, well, I don't steal anyway. Try it sometime. Really commit yourself to 3 basic, Moses and the stones and whatever, he was on a mountain sign. I don't know. I didn't read the Bible. It was so boring and confusing. My God, just make a movie out of it. Oh, they did. I didn't watch that either. Anyway, just very basic commandments, you know? I won't lie, I won't cheat, and I won't steal. And then when you adhere to that path, people are going to come along who are not on that path, who are not adhering to those rules. And suddenly, boom, you're in the Rihanna black and white zone, right? You're like, nope, I hold myself to that standard. And now I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, with pure integrity and with a self-confidence, that I am going to hold you to that too. And I feel okay saying that because I know that I'm doing the work. I'm walking it like I talk it. And that's why we love Rihanna. And that's why she's our queen, because she does walk it like she talks it. And remember, it's okay to disallow behavior that other people would allow. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to be having sex just because that's what a lot of other people are doing. You don't have to be sending nudes. You don't even have to have an Instagram. I get so many messages from you guys. You're like, I don't know. I know that I should have an Instagram, and I just don't care. I know I'm not posting enough. I'm like, literally no one gives a shit if you have one or not. You wouldn't care so much what people thought about you if you knew how seldom they did. And let that realization fuel you when you make boundaries. Like, you know what? Say you have a boundary. It's like, no, I'm not sending nudes. That's one of my boundaries. I have never sent a nude in my life, and I absolutely never will. Gun to my head, I won't do it. Any picture I've taken, if it got out, they're nice. Sometimes I hope some of them would leak. I'm like, they're so cute. I look so good. But like, that's my boundary. And no one else needs to like it. No one else needs to be fine with it. And you know what? Nobody really cares. So use this time to make your own commandments as a person. Because you know who wrote the commandments? God. You are the God of your own life. This is your kingdom. This is your property, and you get to run it however you see fit. There's no right or wrong. There is only inauthentic versus authentic. So make sure that the rules you're coming up with are authentic to you. They make you feel whole and proud of yourself, because then that's the only other kind of people and situations you're going to allow into your kingdom. Tell me more about what you love about Rihanna. Tell me what you love about me. And let's share some of our rules for self-governance. You know, I think this is a really important thing to do because, yeah, like don't lie, cheat, steal is very basic, but maybe there's some other things. Don't self-betray. Don't give more than you're getting back. There's a lot, but that's just kind of a good place to start. Click like and subscribe. Like I said, we're doing a new video every day. We're covering some super cool topics, some quarantine glow-ups. We're covering some celeb stuff. We're covering basically literally every topic there is because who knows how long we're going to be under lockdown. But as long as we are, I will be here. See you later, Shallon.